us to do better when it comes to protecting public health and welfare from these harmful emissions. Really, we have many, many win-win solutions at hand. For those who aren't aware, reducing emissions from oil and gas operations is often as simple as reducing leaks and making your operations more efficient. So what's good for clean air is usually good for industry's bottom line, and it's those win-win solutions that we need to seize here, that we are looking to the EPA to help us seize on a nationwide basis. But above all, we do need to put public health first, because a healthy society is a prosperous society, and I think everybody here can agree with that, whether you're with industry or whether you're with the public. So with that, thank you for the opportunity to comment. We look forward to providing more information and to being involved as this process continues to unfold. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Rita Dubbing. I'm here representing Public Citizen. I am a DFW resident. I really welcome the EPA's participation here today. And as we all know, when it comes to the environment, if you promulgate new rules or you create new rules without enforcement are meaningless. And you're hearing from citizens today, just like you did the 600 who attended the fracking meeting a few weeks ago, with the exception of a couple dozen lobbyists, that they feel that their state agency, the TCEQ, and the Railroad Commission has frankly failed them. I even heard a railroad commissioner say at the fracking meeting that they essentially have had no complaints. I hope they stayed through that whole meeting. And for those citizens that are here today who feel like they haven't been heard, those two state agencies are going under sunset review, which means they could be abolished, reformed, or renovated. The local legislators on those committees are Representative Anchia from Dallas and Representative Harper Brown from Irving. I suggest you register your complaints with those two representatives and all your local representatives, because up in this legislative session, you have a voice in that agency changing. Because if the EPA comes up with rules and the jurisdiction on permitting and everything, and enforcement, et cetera, maintains with these agencies, if there's no enforcement, there's no regulation, and there's no real oversight on these permits, we will continue to have bad air quality in our region. Now, I just happen to be also a voting member of the North Texas Clean Air Steering Committee, which just met last Thursday. Some of the EPA folks I see here today were there last Thursday. We have to come up with new rules for the region, which is now serious for air quality, to clean up. I was told by the TCEQ at that meeting and others that we may not have any information by which to base the Barnett Shale emissions from gas till October. Yet we have to come up with recommendations by December. That is unacceptable. So anything you could do from the EPA side or to help the TCEQ get on the stick, so to speak, to get that body of more than 19 people who have to make decisions on ideas to clean up the air in DFW, that would be helpful. With that, I want to say that we're looking right now, even though the inventory I hear is not complete, that we're looking at over 9,000 horizontal producing wells in the Barnett Shale. There's estimates that the number of those wells could go as high as 53,000 wells in the region. Arlington and Dallas are just getting into gas drilling. In working with citizens, I see one thing as the bottom line. A lot of citizens, a lot of people agree that natural gas is a clean bridge fuel. But what good is it if it's destroying people's water, land, and air? It totally mitigates that. Drillers do not have the right to destroy a rancher's land or his water. They don't have the right to destroy neighborhoods or emit benzene that affects children. They don't have the right to do that to the rest of the public. It's not the driller's right to be able to make money at the expense of the public and other small businesses' ability to make a living. And that is why many of us are here today. So we need to think about, when we look at these gas wells, one of the oil and gas experts today mentioned 24 tons per site. Well, the problem is, when you're looking at 53,000 wells, if they are very small, what is the cumulative effect on regions like the DFW areas and others? It's like the way coal plants are permitted in Texas. If you only look at an individual permit and not the cumulative effect of other point sources around it, then more and more areas across this country are going to be in non-attainment. Austin's a great example with the Oak Grove permit on coal by itself. So we need to look at cumulative impacts. We also need to look at specifics in relation to these wells. Electric motors should be used to drive gas compressors and other stationary and gas field infrastructure. Condensate tanks should be equipped with vapor recovery units and monitored for the control of VOC emissions. No-bleed pneumatic valves and fittings should be used on pipeline networks. In concern for regional air quality, which I work on, all immobile oil-filled equipment that emits nitrogen oxides, solid or organic compounds, and other hazardous air pollutants, owned and or operated by an individual operator, should be regulated as a single source and for its cumulative effect. Waste gas and flaring must be defined and managed as an air emission and meet a state emission standard. When we are now thinking about the position we are in today, and I've heard a lot of people comment about the overreach of the EPA. I welcome the EPA's involvement in today. It was a Republican president that established the EPA in the 60s. If industry regulated itself, we wouldn't be in the mess we're in today. And the Barnett Shale is booming across 19 counties in North Texas, with the expansion at about triple its current capacity. Texas, as well as the rest of the nation, is looking upon you to help us in what I would call an epidemic. And I thank you for your efforts.
Thank you very much. We're at 4 o'clock almost. I understand we've got some more speakers, and here they are. And so we're going to continue on past 4. I'm guessing from what we've got that we're probably looking at about 4:25 or so for this meeting. Then, as I think you know, we're starting up again at 6 p.m. tonight and going till 10 p.m. or beyond. So let me call up Jerry Locko. Hopefully that's roughly right. I apologize if I messed that one up. And Elisa Rich. Jerry Locko? Looks like that. That's correct. All right. Well, second chart.
Are we ready?
Yes.
My name is Jerry Locko. I'm a retired chemical engineer and research and development physicist. I've been involved in these problems since about 2005, starting with problems up in the New Mexico area of the Valle Vidal. And then when it came home to roost in Fort Worth, I became very involved there. I've been involved ever since. I am a member of the board of the North Central Texas Communities Alliance. And I go into great detail about where I stand and what my attitudes are. But I think Tim Ruggiero expressed it very well. Jim Ashford as well. Both of them are in our organization. And I represent people like that. We are not stakeholders in the sense that all of the government publications talk about. Yet we're lumped in together with people who are making money out of this. basically, we stand to lose something. They stand to gain something or not. We're on the losing end of the game. I would like to just tell you one little anecdotal situation that I think typifies what's going on in our country. The things that we should be looking at, we're not looking at it. As a matter of fact, industry is suppressing it. It's like the tobacco industry was doing before. This is the same thing with the oil and gas industry. I just want to tell you this one little incident. I had lunch the other day with a friend of mine who graduated from high school at the same time I did, in 1955. His son was with us. He graduated from high school 20 years ago in New Orleans. And he was telling us, and this, we weren't talking about this problem or anything. He was telling us that he was trying on a committee to try to put together a 20-year high school reunion of his folks. And everyone on the committee was shocked to find out that they couldn't put together more than about a third of the people who had graduated. And the reason was they had all died of cancer. They had put together 3 different classes of people to have a reunion because they didn't have enough people to do it. But that fellow lives in what is called Cancer Alley. You can Google that and you will find that it's caused by primarily the petrochemical industry, petroleum, gas, and petrochemicals. So I had never heard of this, and I don't know how many people here have ever heard of it, but we're having the same kind of thing going on here. Right now in Flower Mound, there is a cancer cluster, a leukemia cancer cluster. And we heard when we were talking about the fracking thing, or maybe it was something else, but it was an EPA hearing. Folks came up from down along the I-45 corridor, and they talked about the cancer that they've got down there because of the coal-fired electrical plants. All that stuff is suppressed. We rarely ever hear about it. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But I do have some suggestions for you, which I noticed that a lot of the people in industry didn't have. Instead, they wanted to give you propaganda. I want to suggest to you that you require that all gas wells and their associated storage and processing equipment be required to have no vents to the atmosphere. Vapor recovery units must be required. I'd ask that you require gas rail operators to pay for independent periodic analysis of their wellhead production stream and require publication thereof. I'd ask that the drillers be required to publish a complete list of all the ingredients of their fracking fluid because these ingredients are produced with the gas. I would ask that a limit be posed on the number of potential sources of gas production emissions per square mile for the sake of public safety. Thank you very much.
I want to thank you very much. My name is Elisa Rich. I'm with Wolf Eagle Environmental, and I applaud your efforts in Midlothian. It has been long overdue, and I'm not here to talk about that today, but thank you for taking the initiative, and thank you for having a backbone to do something about that situation. EPA is directed under the Urban Air Toxic Program to oversee states and require them to assess a local air quality data to identify urban areas where air toxic emissions need to be reduced and take care of the health effects regarding them. In June 2010, TCEQ held a public meeting in Arlington in this very building to discuss the strategy